Hello and welcome to this tutorial for the board game Beyond the Sun. As you can see, it's quite big, so to make it easier to follow my explanation, we're shooting handheld today. The gameplay is very easy, but explaining the actions will take up most of the time. So let's get to it. How does it go? You are going to play until there are 4 discs with stars on them on these achievement spaces. This is a disc with a star on it in my own player color. And these cards have achievements. If you have reached one of these goals, you can place your star disc here at the end of your turn. As soon as there are 4 discs, the game is almost over. It doesn't matter what the color of the discs are. So what happens then? First, you finish the round, and then you play one more round. And then the game is over, and you count up all your points. Whoever has the most points wins the game. You can keep this board with you for the whole game. On one side it shows you exactly everything you get points for at the end of the game. You only get points at the end. If you have the most, you are the winner. Next, how do you play the game? What do you do when it's your turn? That's very easy to explain. First, you place your own player token on an available space, and then you take the action that is written there. And after that, you get to take income. So again, place your token on a free space and do the action, and then you get some income. You have your little board in front of you. All of it is written on that, so you can look at it for help during the whole game. Let's start with the beginning. Moving your player token. This column is my player token. I can place it on any available space, even if that is the empty space right next to where I already am, so I can do the exact same action as I did last time it was my turn. If there is a space for your token and it's free, you can place it there. As you can see, there are some open cards on this table that show spaces to place your token. But if you want to place it there, you have to have one of your own dice next to it. Like this. My die is here, so I can place my token on this space. I don't have one here, so I can't place it there. So that's it for moving. Next, perform an action. Each space will state what you can do there. Sometimes you first have to pay resources to do the action. If you can't pay them, you can't go to that action. What a certain action is, I'll come back to later. As soon as you're completely finished with your action, you get to the next step, getting some income, or as the game calls it, production. I'll explain it, but it's also written on your own player board. You can choose between 3 things. You can do only one. The first one is get new people. If you look at the population track on your own board, you can see mine is freed up until here. That means if I choose to produce people, I can take 1 die from here and 1 from here. I turn them up to a person, and then I place them here on my own player board. If there are no dice left in the column, you can't take one. So that's one thing you can choose to take at the end of your turn. The second thing is ore. Those are these little black rocks. This is ore. If you want, you can take this as income instead of people. As you can see, I can only take one. I place it here where you also place your people. If I want to get more, I have to find a way to get this disk off this space, but the game will do that automatically. Keep in mind you will be needing a lot of ore during the game, so try to have a good supply of it. And the last thing you can choose from is this. At the bottom, you can trade. You pay one thing and get something else in return. Just look at what it says, it will make sense as soon as you play the game. Let me recap that for you. When it's your turn, place your token somewhere. Then do the action and end your turn by taking resources. You can either take people or ore, or you can trade. Officially, that's not the end of your turn. After you have taken some resources, you can check if you have done anything during this turn that is an achievement. Don't forget, the game is almost over as soon as there are 4 discs with stars on them on these achievement cards. At the very end of your turn, you can place one of your stars here if you got an achievement. If you don't, then your turn is over and the next player goes. Alright, let's have a closer look at the actions you can do when it's your turn. Remember that you can only do an action on one of these cards if you have one of your people there. A dice of your color. To get it there is an action. For example, you can see this is column number 1. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4. This action says you can place one of your people on a technology of 1. As long as you have a person to spend, you can do that for free. And it doesn't end there. In most cases, the card shows a little bonus. You get that bonus immediately as soon as you place one of your dice next to it. So that was how I got one of my people next to a card in column 1. But there is also column 2 and 3 and 4. Can I just go there? This action says you can go to column 2 if first you pay 2 ore. But before we do that, let's take a look at my options. As I've said, you can't just go anywhere. My dice are here and here in column 1. You can see that it's all connected by lines. That's because you can only go to a new space if it's connected to a space where you already are. I am here, so that means I can go here. Not here, because the board says I need both, and I don't have this one yet, only this one. Or I have this one here, which allows me to go there. So these are my 2 options for going to a new column, a new technology. I'm also going to say it only once because there's more explaining to do. Back to the action space. It says for 2 ore I can do the action. So at the start of my turn I put my token here. Then I pay 2 ore, and now I can do the action. Alright, pay close attention, because what happens next is only written in the rule book. There is no card or board that you can keep with you that will explain how this goes. First, I take one of my people from the available supply and place it on the board by the space that I'm about to open up. Then I flip over this card and do what whatever it says. This is an event card. Just read it out loud and do what it says. And then this is done. But now we have an empty space on the board. I have to fill it up with one of these cards from deck 2. The board says 2, the cards say 2. That's easy. But I don't just put the top card here. I have to find a specific card. Look at the card where I just came from. I came from here. This card shows you a particular color. See? That means I have to keep flipping over the top card of the deck until I have 2 cards of that same color. Let's do that. We are looking for this color. Alright. We now have 2 cards of the same color as the card where I came from. Now I get to choose which of these 2 I'm going to place. Normally I would read both of them before choosing, but let's just go with this one. I place it face up here. Then I take the other card that I didn't choose and all the other cards I flipped over and shuffle them. When I'm done, they go under the deck. Then, as you may remember, you always immediately get the bonus that is written on the card. This is my bonus that I get right now. That was the end of my action, and now I also get to take some income, the production phase. But there's still one thing left to explain about this. This one was easier because the color was already there. But sometimes a space is connected to 2 different colors. What do you do then? In that case, you first have to choose a color, and then you start flipping over cards. Choose first, and then reveal the top cards from the deck. Well, that is it for explaining how you move over this board. It's a good thing because it gives you bonuses and more spaces to place your token. If you forget, just look at the rulebook. Let's move into space, the other board here. Here you can fly around with your own little spaceships, these ones. The game will tell you automatically when you can place them on the board. It can also be an action on the big board. Take one of your people and turn the die up to a space with a certain spaceship and a number. Then place it on the board. If you don't have any supply of people to turn into a spaceship, you can't do the action. You can't just take dice from here, you have to have them available here. Okay, first I'll explain how you move around in space. That's the easy part. The action will say you can jump. For example, if the action says you can jump 3, that means you have 3 moves to spend here. For example, I move 2 spaces with this ship, 1, 2, and then I move 1 more space with this other spaceship, 1. That's how you move. Next, you can take over a planet. You can control it. It's actually not that complicated. The easiest way is this. Are you the only player there? Well, good. Then you are in control. The end. You are in charge here. The planet shows this icon. That means I can take one of my discs and place it on the planet. Look at the planet. Sometimes you even get an instant bonus just for placing the disc here. Let's make it a little more complicated. I'm the only one here, so I'm in control. My little spaceship says it's a 1. a power of 1. Now, here comes another player. This ship has a power of 2. Well, that is the end of my power on this planet. The other player is stronger. 2 is a higher number than 1. So now this player is in charge. I have to take back my disc and put it back on my board. And the other player can now place a disc here. If it shows this icon, you place a disc with this on it. If it shows the other icon, you place a disc with that. And if it shows both, you can choose which one of the two you want to place there. I've got one more big thing to explain about this spaceboard. But first, a little detail you need to know. As I've said, you can sometimes place new spaceships on the board. If the game doesn't specifically tell you where to place it, you have to place your new spaceship on Sol. Here, our own planet Earth with the sun behind it. But if you happen to be in control of a planet, you are in charge there, where it shows this icon. Then you can also put your new spaceship there. If you are in control on such a planet, you can choose where to place the new ship, here or on Sol. Alright, time to tell you about that last big thing you do here. If you look at a planet card again, you can also see it shows this at the bottom. This is for colonizing. That can give you quite a few points. Plus, colonizing 4 planets will always be an achievement in this game. Then you get to place one of your star discs on the achievement card. Plus, it gives you 2 bonuses. So, how do you colonize a planet? First, you have to go to an action at the start of your turn that says you can colonize. You can't just do it, it's an action. And usually you have to pay ore and people to do that. It's not cheap. So go to the action space and pay the price. Then you can see this little number here. That means you need to have this much power on this planet. You might have already guessed it, but of course you need to be in charge on a planet if you want to colonize it. You have to be in control. So, if you are in control and you have this much power in spaceships there, you can colonize. If some things about this are unclear, just pick up this board. It says all this information. I am in control here. It needs a power of 4. I have a power of 4, so I can colonize this planet. I take this card to keep it with me, and a new card comes on this space. If the space says A, you take a card from the A deck. If it says B, you take it from the B deck. Back to my own planet. Here. First I can take back the spaceship. I turn it back to the box and place it all the way on the right back on my board. Then I read the card. What bonus do I get for colonizing? It's written on the card. It will speak for itself. There's more. When I took control of this planet, I placed a disc. Well, when you colonize a planet, you get to place another disc. So I put a second disc on top of it. If the planet says you can have a choice between 2 different discs, you can choose which one you want to place. And that is colonizing. First go to the action space and pay for the action. Then follow all the steps as I've just explained. And that's where I end my tutorial for Beyond the Sun. You've got the big technology board where you know what to do and how to advance. And there is space to control planets and colonize them. This was an explanation for a game with 4 players, because if you play with 2 or 3, the game will end when there are only 3 star discs on the achievement. The setup will remind you of this, no worries. Give it a go, I think you are ready enough. Thank you for watching this tutorial all the way through, and see you for the next one.